Conquer the multiverse, marry superheroines, and unlock godlike powers. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 51. Qin dedicated. Shocking rewards. Mr. Dongfang, don't you mind coming in for a chat? I am very honored. Dongfang Xing walked into the room generously. Gwen followed closely behind, running towards her boudoir as if fleeing. En route, he still didn't forget to turn his head and wink at Dongfang Xing, making a phone call gesture. The two men watched Gwen leave before sitting down in the living room. After a few seconds of silence, George took the lead in saying, Gwen's mother died early, and I brought her up, so I don't allow her to be bullied, even if the other party is a savior. This guy seems to have misunderstood something. 2. Tiga had previously reported that George had rejected the offer of promotion. Don't want to owe yourself? I think you misunderstood something. Dongfang Xing laughed. The thing is like this. Dongfang Xing will tell the whole story truthfully, except for the part where Gwen was saved. It was him, not fate. The highest level of lying is 9 truths and 1 falsehood. George listened, the previously tense face relaxed a little. I will go to verify these things. George said seriously, if it is really what you said. As long as Gwen doesn't mind, I will not care about your young people's affairs. This is the approval from my father-in-law. Dongfang Xing heaved a sigh of relief. The matter was settled. 2 generations of human beings. It's the first time meeting my parents. Louise's 3 daughters, and only Sharon has an elder, but since she is here to lurk, don't worry too much. Then George, you don't need to refuse my offer. Dongfang Xing said with a smile, Mayor of New York City, or Governor of New York State, which one do you want to be? There was some suspicion in George's eyes. Just give it if you say so? The notice that came in the afternoon was just the Deputy Mayor of New York City. But considering Dongfang Xing's identity and the status of the savior, George thinks twice. Still shaking his head. Let's talk about it after you and Gwen are sure. This is not wanting to receive the gift and make Gwen owe Dongfang Xing. Have to say, this is a good father who loves women. Dongfang Xing didn't force it either. He opened the king's treasure and took out a tube of strengthening potion KW89. This is considered a meeting ceremony at the door today. Once it's taken out, it has to be taken within an hour. As for the effect, as long as you are lucky, you can basically beat the captain of the United States. By the way, Gwen doesn't need this because she wants to be stronger. Before George refuses, Dongfang Xing put down the potion and teleported away, leaving George staring directly at the potion. To drink or not to drink? But Dongfang Xing said that it has to be taken within an hour, so it should expire by then, right? Then whether he drinks or not, this love has to be accepted. George smiled wryly and held out his hand. This alien seems to be okay? Drank it down. Dongfang Xing returned to Shuguang Mansion, the former top-floor residence. Qin was chatting with Louise, and Sharon was working on the computer, but Fiora was nowhere to be seen. As soon as he appeared, Qin was the first to spot him and turned around to look. Is everything going well? Dongfang Xing nodded, waiting for an answer. A gust of wind blew, and Louise plunged into his arms. Woo, I haven't seen you all day, I miss you so much. Dongfang Xing hugged Louise with a smile. Where's Fiora? She's in the underground laboratory, and she seems to be researching something. Sharon walked over and said, It's said that it will take a few days, and I can't accompany you during this time. Dongfang Xing nodded clearly. Thinking of Fiora's scientist identity, there is a high probability that she is tinkering with something. Let her go if she likes it. Qin, you can find a room to rest at will. We'll talk about it tomorrow. During the talk, Dongfang Xing hugged left and right, and walked towards the master bedroom. I was so angry at being teased by Gwen today, I have to vent it out. This unabashed behavior left Qin in a daze. At once. Not hiding at all? But thinking about what Dongfang Xing is going to do next, Qin feels mixed feelings. Can't help but recalling the bits and pieces of being with Dongfang Xing yesterday. Looking at the closed door of the master bedroom, he lost his mind. The next day, early morning. As soon as Dongfang Xing went out, he saw Qin standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, still wearing yesterday's suit. I woke up so early. Dongfang Xing greeted, Didn't Natasha Romanoff buy clothes? Why didn't they change? Didn't they fit? Heard the voice. Qin turned around, causing Dongfang Xing to raise his eyebrows. Bloodshot eyes, swollen eye bags, dark yellow complexion. Didn't sleep all night? Ah, did we bother you? Dongfang Xing scratched his head and said, the soundproofing equipment should. Have you used the power of your mind? Qin Hu strode forward and hugged Dongfang Xing. I figured it out last night. Qin muffled, anyway, I won't be able to leave you anymore, and I don't hate you, I want to be your woman too. Dongfang Xing blinked. He was in a hurry to vent his anger last night, and he did not consider Qin's feelings a little bit. But how could she have self-guided? Seeing that Dongfang Xing was silent for a long time, Qin couldn't help but raise her head. You do not like me? Not really, it's just Qin directly used psychokinesis to support herself, and scored a tie A. It's all come to this point, what can Dongfang Xing say? Take it. Knight, use horse charm to smooth Qin's brow. Let Dijia send a message and register Qin in his account book. Natasha Romanoff's efficiency was very fast, and the system prompt arrived within half a minute. Hold C. Is this reward serious? Episode 52. Phoenix Force. Shapeshifting King Kong? Additional 20-month pass. Congratulations to the host for marrying Jean Grey, forming an alliance for the family and X-Men, and getting the reward Psychokinesis Floating Cannon. Name, Psychokinesis Floating Cannon. Grade A. Introduction. Drive the beam cannon with psychokinesis, which can accurately intercept and destroy small meteorites, and inject psychokinesis to enhance its power. Slogan, now eyes really can kill. Congratulations to the host for marrying Dark Phoenix, adding a way to the multi-universe for the family, and getting the reward Phoenix Force Fragment. Name, Phoenix Force Fragments. Grade S. Introduction. A fragment of the complete Phoenix Force is the creator and source of spiritual power, enough to make you the strongest existence in this universe. Slogan, play your collecting hobby and collect the complete Phoenix Force. Hiss, hold C. Is the reward this time so fierce? And marry a piano, give 2 rewards? Raise your hand. Orange Red's Phoenix Force, like a docile kitten, is driven by his will. Are getting acquainted. Phoenix Force spit out a spell, which is Chicken Charm and Sheep Charm. And Phoenix Force also conveys the emotion of dislike. These two are too weak, me is enough. 2. Whether it is psychokinesis or spiritual defense, soul astral, Phoenix Force can easily do it. These 2 spells are useless. Give it to my wife later. Well now. Dongfang Xing teleported more than 300 times and came directly to outer space. Without the weakening of the atmosphere, sufficient light energy is absorbed by the supercells, but there is a kind of going home experience. Coincidentally, a group of meteorites hit the Earth, their maximum diameter is 20 meters. Look big, but in the friction with the atmosphere, it will basically burn up. Then let me give you a ride. King's treasure, open. 3 gold spheres flew out. They were 2 meters in diameter and shaped like eyeballs. The finished characters were suspended above Dongfang Xing's head. Psychokinesis Floating Cannon. Dongfang Xing released psychokinesis, and as soon as he touched the psychokinesis floating cannon, the 3 eyeballs lit up. Resounding at the level of thought. Psychokinesis frequency has been bound. Enter the parade mode. You can fire at any time. Dongfang Xing locked his eyes on the meteorite group and gave the command to fire. Space has no sound. 3. Psychokinesis floating cannons shoot gold beams at an average frequency of 10 rounds per second, hitting the meteorites precisely. All meteorites are vulnerable and explode directly into space dust. In addition to moving a thought, Dongfang Xing completed the rest of the psychokinesis floating cannon automatically. Just highlight the convenience. Dongfang Xing liked it more and more. It was much easier to use than Dragon Talisman, and it was more powerful. 2. Although both are A-level items, Dragon Talisman is just one of the 12 talismans. Dongfang Xing is very satisfied. Huh? He suddenly discovered a few meteorites were not quite right. After the explosion, large pieces of metal fragments were scattered, and some of them had exquisite structures. Doesn't it look like a common meteorite? Dongfang Xing put away the psychokinesis floating cannon and teleported to the front one after another. Repaired it with horse charm. A 10-meter-high steel machine appeared in front of his eyes. Why does this thing look so much like Optimus Prime? No. It is Optimus Prime. Dongfang Xing looked at the other 3 metal wreckages and repaired them while they were hot. As expected, it was the 3 Autobots Jazz, Ironhide, and Ambulance. So, this is Optimus Prime and the others who received the call of the Bumblebee and came to Earth in a meteorite-shaped escape pod, but they were shot down by his experiment, psychokinesis floating cannon. This coincidence is absolutely perfect. The outrageous thing is, all that Dongfang Xing did was not to hide, the satellites all over the space were photographed. Don't think about it, tomorrow's headlines will definitely be, "The Savior appeared in space to intercept alien visitors. Shock. The Savior has saved the Earth again," and so on. Dongfang Xing doesn't care about these things, he wants to know now, are Optimus Prime and the others still alive? He leaned in front of the ambulance and raised his hand to look at his head. The latter suddenly opened his eyes, shining brightly like the lights of a car. "Master, this silicon-based life uses a signal to ask for your identity. Answer him, let's see if the other three are still alive." The ambulance pulled down on the spot, saying, "Master, he can't move, can't check." "That's easy." Dongfang Xing directly opened the King's Treasure and put away the 4 Autobots. Disappeared in place. Teleported to the ground position and then opened King's Treasure to release them. "Good, amazing technology." The ambulance exclaimed, "Is the Earth's technology so advanced? The Bumblebee didn't even warn us." Clearly a misunderstanding. Dongfang Xing waved his hand, pointing to Optimus Prime and the others. Only then did the ambulance think of it, and hurriedly began to check. Dongfang Xing was also a little nervous. After all, who would not wish? Can there be a shape-shifting King Kong car? Even if Dongfang Xing can fly, I really want it. Episode 53. I want half of the Tinder source. Smart Optimus Prime. Ambulance treatment. From Dongfang Xing's point of view, it's just knocking and electrotherapy. Optimus Prime and the others woke up. It seems they are lucky. The light beam of psychokinesis floating cannon failed to explode them on the spot, and was restored by Dongfang Xing. Cuckoo ka ka cuckoo ka. Optimus Prime's first reaction when he woke up was to start a fighting stance, revealing their energy cannons. Although he didn't aim at Dongfang Xing, his eyes were obviously vigilant. The eyes were all red. Could they be vigilant? Obviously, they were terrified of the few shots Dongfang Xing had experimented with before. "Earthlings," Optimus Prime said, "we have no intention of invading your planet, we just came to retrieve our own things, and then we will leave." Dongfang Xing flew up and looked at Optimus Prime at the same level. "I definitely trust you, the leader of the Autobots on planet Cybertron." Dongfang Xing smiled. He made no secret of his knowing Cybertron. "You know us?" Optimus Prime said unexpectedly, "As far as I know, Cybertron has never communicated with the Earth or even other carbon-based life forms in history. Let me introduce myself, Nebula M78, Dongfang Xing of the Light Clan." Dongfang Xing opened his mouth and said, "When our star clan becomes an adult, we will wander in the universe in search of civilization. It's already a piece of wasteland, leaving only a few words. I didn't expect to see the main body today." "You're an alien too?" Ironhide said excitedly, "Then why did you attack us?" Speaking of this, Dongfang Xing couldn't help laughing out loud. This made Ironhide even more excited. "Laugh at?" Chi Guoguo's ridicule. "Sorry, I didn't do it on purpose." Dongfang Xing smiled and said, "Actually, I was just testing a toy just now." "Who would have thought that your escape pod is actually made of a meteorite?" Optimus Prime. "Other cars, this. I just said, there's no need to pretend to be a meteorite." Jazz complained. "Who would have thought it would be so unlucky to encounter such a thing?" The ambulance said helplessly, "It was originally planned to come quietly, and after taking it, then quietly left." Hearing the conversation between the two cars, Dongfang Xing was taken aback. "Are you here to find the source of the fire seed?" The 4 cars looked at Dongfang Xing in unison. "You even know that?" "Ang, that's the thing, it's worth all of you coming here." Dongfang Xing said, "I was on this planet, and I read a piece of information that there was an official organization called the 7th District, which imprisoned a mechanical life body." Talking. Dongfang Xing used Phoenix Force to condense a Decepticon logo. "It's Decepticons," Optimus Prime explained, "our planet." Dongfang Xing waved his hand. "You know, the main combat faction Dementia and the main peace faction Autobots. This person doesn't even know what engine oil he uses, does he?" Dongfang Xing continued, "In addition to imprisoning a Decepticon, there is also a huge amounts of energy body, the energy of which can make a smart device produce a Decepticon, which is extremely violent and incapable. It's the source of fire seeds." The ambulance said excitedly, "It must be the source of fire seeds." "Where is it? Take us there." Ambulance. "Back off." Optimus Prime snapped. The ambulance came to its senses now. The little ones in front of them almost wiped out their existence with one shot. At the same time, the red eyes of Optimus Prime and the others also turned back to sky blue. Sorry, the ambulance is just too impatient and not malicious. Optimus Prime said politely, since you know our goal, you don't know what price you need to pay to take us back to the fire source? Talking to smart cars is easy. Originally, I planned to collect a silicon-based life. Dongfang Xing smiled and said, but since there is a fire source, then I changed my mind. I can help you solve the problems on the Earth, provided that the fire source give me half. Good guy. The lion opened his mouth wide, and almost didn't let the Jazz 3 cars explode. What is the source of Tinder? It's shapeshifting King Kong's energy. Is the source of shapeshifting King Kong. It is the key to revive the planet Cybertron. Open your mouth and go halfway? This is absolutely impossible. No problem. Optimus Prime said bluntly, thank you for your generosity. On behalf of Cybertron, I pay high respects. Jazz, Ironhide, and the ambulance were all dumbfounded. No. How did you agree? And thanks? Dongfang Xing laughed. This Optimus Prime. Really too smart. If it weren't for the hobby of driving big cars, he would have wanted to collect him. Master, Fury is calling. The person who solves the problem is here, please wait for me. Dongfang Xing stepped aside to make a phone call, leaving room for Optimus Prime and the others to talk. Boss, why did you agree to him? Jazz asked eagerly. Yes, leader, this guy is too greedy. Tai Pai gritted his teeth. Boss, we need a reason, the ambulance said in a deep voice. Because he promised to give half of the fire source, Optimus Prime's leadership status has been questioned. But Optimus Prime wasn't angry. Because if it were him, it would be the same. Only. Don't forget. Episode 54. He obviously has the strength to grab you, but he still trades with you. Faced with doubts, Optimus Prime said earnestly, don't forget. The people of the Light Clan could have said nothing. He can take it directly by himself. But he is still willing to give us half. Isn't that generosity? And don't forget that the fire source is. Tiepy Sanche was immediately speechless. Subconsciously, they instinctively thought that the fire source belonged to Cybertron and belonged to them. But forgot, Dongfang Xing was already stronger than them in battle, and now he had more intelligence than them. Even if they really took away the fire source, what can they do? Thinking about it this way. Dongfang Xing is willing to give away half of the fire source, is it really generous? Although Dongfang Xing flew far away, his super hearing kept listening. I approve of Optimus Prime's sanity. That's the real smartness, don't want that Stark to be all over the place. As for the final hesitation. Maybe it was impossible before, but now it is not a problem at all. Probably the situation is like this. Dongfang Xing said, I detected the aliens and intercepted them. Now they want to recover their own energy source, which is the key to the reconstruction of Krypton. Can you give it or not? Fury. Dongfang Xing didn't mention Cybertron, there were only 2 or 3 kittens left. Fury thought that Optimus Prime and the others were just the advance team. From the satellite, these things are war machines. The key to the resurrection of civilization? How dare he say no? I'm afraid it's not the same as Krypton, and there will be another big battle. But it's obviously not his style to just give it for nothing. In this way, you stabilize them, and I will talk about the details when I arrive. Are you teaching me how to do things? Dongfang Xing snapped back. I'll bring a collection there. Fury said calmly. Then hurry up, I'm still in a hurry to go home and sleep. Dongfang Xing yawned. Fury could see clearly that Dongfang Xing was grandette. Hang up the phone. Dongfang Xing walked towards Optimus Prime and briefly explained the situation. The other side of the Earth should agree, but you have to pay a price. Dongfang Xing said, showing out some unimportant but advanced technologies is enough to send them away. Optimus Prime nodded knowingly. No problem. Optimus Prime said respectfully, however, our scientific research robot Jack is still in the universe, and there is no high-end technology for the time being. It's not without it. The ambulance interrupted, although my database contains mostly medical technology that repairs us, the technology of this Earth is obviously obtained by reverse derivation, and it is completely useful. It's enough. Dongfang Xing said casually, by the way, give me a copy of your technologies too. I don't want to take yours for nothing. I will exchange them with other alien technologies. What can the ambulance say? As Optimus Prime said, Dongfang Xing is clearly capable of robbing, but he still trades with you. It's enough to save face. The two exchanged technology, and then nodded in satisfaction. It turns out that the escape pod can be transformed like this? It's an increase in knowledge. As for Dongfang Xing, congratulations to the host for obtaining the shape-shifting Vajra Medical Encyclopedia, adding heritage to the family. Get the reward Light of Recovery. Name, Light of Recovery. Grade, C. Introduction. Transform your own healing ability into the Light of Recovery, and use it on a single person or a designated area remotely. Slogan, if you don't heal the ability, shoot the enemy in the eye. Well, with Horse Charm, remote healing can be achieved. If you encounter a disaster event in the future, you can easily throw a Light of Recovery. Brush up favorability. Maybe it's like Gwen who saved the future father-in-law and mother-in-law. Oh right. I almost forgot. Dongfang Xing opened the king's treasure and took out the black teleportation boulder. The arm vibrates to open the portal. Clark just rushed out at the speed of light. As the Code of Life, the resurrection of Krypton definitely requires his cooperation. Ah, I'm sorry. Dongfang Xing said awkwardly, originally, Fiora came, and I should have let you back, but there are too many things, I forgot. At that time, Fiora was too active to take the initiative. What can Clark say? That he almost flew back by himself? But then, Clark saw Optimus Prime's for cars and cast a questioning look at Dongfang Xing. You're? Dongfang Xing shook his head. New alien life, Fury and the others are on their way. Dongfang Xing introduced, Kryptonian Clark, now settled on the Earth. Cybertron Optimus Prime came to the Earth to fetch things. Clark nodded to Optimus Prime as a greeting. Then I'll go back first, Louise must be in a hurry. Clark said. This Louise is Louise Lois, Clark's reporter girlfriend. Wait. Episode 55. Hill Beauty Trap. Fury's Awakening. Wait. Dongfang Xing took out strengthening potion KW89 and threw it over, as an apology, give this to Lois to drink. Increases the stamina of Lois. Strengthening potion KW89, Clark didn't know him, but he believed in Dongfang Xing. Take it casually and nod your head. He took off with bent legs and flew into the sky, bursting out several clusters of sonic boom clouds and disappearing into the sky. Seeing the 4 cars of Optimus Prime, they all opened their mouths slightly. This Earth. It looks very dangerous, huh? Close the portal and put away the black teleportation boulder. Optimus Prime and others are on alert now. A large number of Quinjets exited stealth mode and suddenly appeared in the sky. Thick and dense, like dark clouds. One of them fell, the cabin is opened, and Fury and Hill step out. Such a big battle, how about showing off your muscles? Dongfang Xing joked. I'm just avoiding any possible conflict. Fury said seriously. Makes sense too. As long as our firepower is strong enough, you dare not make a move. We have no intention of bringing war. Optimus Prime leaned down and stared at Fury. Get our fire source, and we will leave Earth immediately. It's not yours yet, gentlemen. Fury said coldly, until a sufficient price is paid, it belongs to the property of the Earth. If it wasn't for Fury walking to Dongfang Xing's side secretly when he said this, that would be more convincing. Dongfang Xing is definitely not happy to be used as a gun, and is about to leave this negotiation meeting. Hill stepped forward, facing Dongfang Xing, he opened the suitcase, revealing small cubes full of crystal blue light. This is the energy block that Hydra extracted from the Tesseract during World War II. Hill explained softly, the energy contained in each block is comparable to a nuclear power plant. Dongfang Xing frowned. Seeing the energy cube, he suddenly remembered. Dr. Eric was invited by Fury to go, supposedly to conduct research on Tesseract weaponization. So, want to remind them? Definitely not. If they don't activate Tesseract all the time, how will Loki locate and come to deliver the courier? Anyway, the later is his. Put away the suitcase, and the system prompts. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a box of Space Gem energy blocks, the strength of the family has grown. Obtained the reward, minor improvement of mental power. Guaranteed rewards, sure enough, this thing is useless. Dongfang Xing is preparing to leave. Hill took half a step forward, close enough to feel each other's body temperature. I have a few questions. Can I ask Mr. Dongfang for clarification? Hill asked softly. Dongfang Xing understands. Is this a beauty trick? Well, Fury came up with this trick. It really suits him. But Dongfang Xing raised his hand, holding Hill's waist. It feels very good. Okay, let's talk in another place. Brush teleported away directly. The corners of Fury's eyes twitched, with a sense of déjà vu. Look at Optimus Prime again. Although you lack confidence, you can't show your timidity. The other end, Dongfang Xing appeared on the roof with Hill in his arms, and the latter immediately pushed Dongfang Xing away. Quick! Let's go back. Oh. Who do you think I am? Dongfang Xing patted his clothes and said with a smile, since you choose to use a beauty trick, you must have the consciousness of being eaten. Do you have it? Hill calmed down and stared at Dongfang Xing calmly. As long as you can help SHIELD win the negotiation, yes. That calm voice. Dongfang Xing used the power of his mind to easily eavesdrop on Hill's heart. It's just a deal. Dongfang Xing lost interest in an instant, and put away his smile in a bored manner. I, Dongfang Xing, never force women. Since you resist, forget it. Wait. Hill showed a professional smirk. I didn't resist. I can be with. Dongfang Xing waved his hand, not listening at all. Before you guys came, I've already negotiated the terms. They won't do anything to Fury. Say it. In a blink of an eye, he left directly. Leaving Hill with a cold face again. His eyes were constantly changing, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Back to the scene, the ambulance is handing a hard drive to Fury. It appears the deal is done. Where's Hill? Fury asked nervously. Where's her? Tempting me failed. I threw it on the roof to reflect. Dongfang Xing said casually, okay, you'll get the benefits too, so we'll go get the things. Remember to pack it yourself. Dongfang Xing opened the King's Treasure and looked at Optimus Prime. They walked in very consciously. Wait. You are. Brush. Dongfang Xing walked cleanly, not ignoring Fury at all. Fury looked at Phil Coulson, who immediately went to make a call. 10 seconds later, he reports, Dongfang Xing and those Cybertronian robots, over there at the Hoover Dam, they know where that thing is stored. Fury was speechless. Co-authored. They don't need them at all. Dongfang Xing can also get the fire source. Did Dongfang Xing stay here on purpose, so that he can benefit from whoring for nothing? As the king of agents, Fury naturally wouldn't feel guilty. But have to say, his evaluation of Dongfang Xing has improved a lot. Perhaps it can make more females on Earth, and his marriage relationship. He may be as useful to Earth as Superman. Episode 56. Split the fire source. Collect Megatron? Add more 40 monthly tickets. Hoover Dam entrance. Fury didn't keep Dongfang Xing and the others waiting too long, and soon the vigilant state was lifted, and a middle-aged white man in a suit and leather shoes rushed out. He stared at Optimus Prime's four cars frantically, muttering words. Sure enough. Live. Amazing. After a short period of excitement, the middle-aged white man quickly sorted out his emotions. Hello friends from extraterrestrials, my name is Seymour Simmons, SHIELD Level 7 agent, responsible for the security of the 7th District. On the orders of Director Nick Fury, I will take you now to see. Dongfang Xing raised his hand to interrupt Seymour, and looked into the distant sky. An F-15 Eagle fighter jet is flying towards this side. Seymour was very surprised. How could there be a fighter jet? I am about to ask my superiors. Dongfang Xing opened King's Treasure and summoned Psychokinesis Floating Cannon. Call out. Even though the fighter made evasive actions in advance, he was still beaten into a firework. Whoa. What are you doing? Seymour said angrily, That's Starscream. Optimus Prime said firmly, the second in command of the Decepticons and the adjutant of Megatron. He glanced at Psychokinesis Floating Cannon with fear. The Starscream is very difficult to deal with, and this thing can be fired in one shot. The trouble is solved, let's go. Dongfang Xing walked into the dam. Optimus Prime's 4 cars are also shapeshifting one after another, turning into 4 cars to keep up. Jazz was considerate and gave the bewildered Seymour a ride. After checking with the superiors, it is true that no fighter jets were dispatched. Just realized a problem. No other meteorite has landed recently, so the Starscream has been lurking on the Earth? Seymour asked incredulously. It should be. Dongfang Xing said casually, "You send signals to the universe every day, and it is not surprising that there is anything on the Earth." Seymour opened his mouth to say something, but didn't know what to say. Co-authored. The shape-shifting King Kong is beside them, but they didn't find it? Wait. Before SHIELD made a mandatory request, the United States Aviation Bureau recalled Voyager 1 and 2, and it was also because of you? Dongfang Xing didn't bother to pay attention to him, and walked forward quickly. The field of vision suddenly opened up and came to a huge space. A huge cube appeared in front of my eyes, with complex mysterious patterns on the surface, but it looked more like an integrated circuit. "It's the source of fire," Optimus Prime said excitedly. "I finally found you. The glory of Cybertron is about to reappear." The other Autobots were also excited. That look. Seymour inexplicably recalled that not long ago, Zod and the others. "You won't be on Earth again to revive their planet, right?" But looking at Dongfang Xing, Seymour felt relieved again. With the Savior leading the way and the SHIELD certification, his worries should be unnecessary. Optimus Prime walked up to the giant cube and raised his hand to press on the surface. A flash of lightning flashed across the cube. The cube seems to be alive, shape-shifting into a giant Rubik's Cube, and begins to fold and shrink. Until it turned into a head file size, lying in the palm of Optimus Prime. "Follow." Optimus Prime looked at Dongfang Xing. "Why, Mr. Dongfang, the fire source is almost indestructible. How can we give you half of it?" "This is simple, you give it to me," Dongfang Xing said. Without hesitation, Optimus Prime directly handed it to Dongfang Xing. Nothing can destroy Fire Seed Source unless a leader shape-shifting King Kong is sacrificed. Dongfang Xing did not answer. The Phoenix Force emerged, turned into a battle axe, and slashed down with one axe. Crack! The Fire Seed Source, which claims to be indestructible, was split in half just like that. Optimus Prime was stunned. He looked at Dongfang Xing even more apprehensively, secretly glad that he didn't have the idea of sneak attack. Otherwise. Anyway, their material is absolutely impossible to be as hard as Fire Seed Source. Co-authored. The flying turret is really a toy, and this ability is even more outrageous. Ironhide, Jazz, and the ambulance also looked at each other with lingering fear. They were thinking about killing this human before. Who the hell kills who? Dongfang Xing put away half of Fire Seed Source and handed the other half, Fire Seed Source, to Optimus Prime. It is detected that there are other items that can be collected, and it is recommended to collect them together before proceeding to settlement. Other items? Dongfang Xing suddenly remembered something, and used X-ray perspective to look at the frozen Megatron next door. System, shape-shifting King Kong can also be collected? Just like the host taking concubines, shape-shifting King Kong also has good combat power, which can naturally increase the strength of the family. Dongfang Xing couldn't help baring his teeth. That Starscream that exploded just now. What a waste. Episode 57. Suppress Megatron. Phoenix Force shows its power. Fire Seed Source, the warehouse next door. A shape-shifting King Kong with the same file size as Optimus Prime was inserted into a tube filled with liquid nitrogen and frozen into a model. That's her. North by East 1. Seymour said frantically, all the foundations of science now. Mobile phones, refrigerators, cars, and airplanes. All are through reverse research, and the technology has exploded in 100 years. Shouted for a long time, Seymour found no one responding to him. Turn around and look. Dongfang Xing was thinking about something. Optimus Prime has a sad expression on his face. After all, Megatron was once his leader and idol. He never thought that one day he would be reduced to this point. As for the Jazz 3 cars, they are all eager to try. This is Megatron, leader of the Decepticons. As long as he is destroyed and Starscream is lost, the Decepticons will never be able to succeed again. Thinking so, Sentry couldn't help turning his hands, trying to quietly take out the energy gun. But with their body size, how can they be so quiet? What are you going to do? Seymour, horrified, put away your weapons. You are committing a crime. Seeing to be found. The Jazz and the 3 cars looked at each other, and raised their guns without doing anything. Stop! Optimus Prime yelled. But Jazz Sentry is determined to kill, and still emits energy beams. Heading straight for Megatron's head, he was about to be headshot. Time stop domain activation. 3 energy beams completed the word, hovering in front of Megatron's head. The thermal sight followed the sight and swept around, cutting off all the liquid nitrogen pipes. After a while, Megatron was lifted from the frozen state, but he didn't do anything special. Although his body was frozen, his consciousness was always running. With Optimus Prime and the 3 Autobots, he has no chance of escaping. Not to mention, this weird energy beam stopped in front of him, as well as the motionless Optimus Prime and so on. Are proving, this little guy under his feet has the ability to end his life at any time. Megatron carefully lowered his head, his scarlet electronic eyes met Dongfang Xing's gaze. You are not from Earth. Megatron said firmly, tell me, what do you need from me? Loyalty. Dongfang Xing went straight to the point, I want you, be loyal to me. Megatron didn't answer, but let out a loud laugh. There is anger, unwillingness, and sadness in the laughter. Only there is no compromise. Dongfang Xing just waited quietly. Wait until Megatron laughs enough. He jerked his arm up, shapeshifting out an energy gun, and slammed the trigger. However, when the energy ball touched Dongfang Xing, it was ejected back the same way and hit Megatron's own chest. Megatron made a terrible electronic noise, and the red light in the electronic eyes gradually dimmed. Seeing that he was about to receive a boxed lunch on the spot, Dongfang Xing shot a golden light. Light of recovery. The golden light containing the horse charm melted into his body, and Megatron instantly returned to his original state. But Megatron didn't feel that he would survive the catastrophe, but looked at Dongfang Xing complicatedly. The force he is proud of, in front of this little guy. Just like a large toy, it is vulnerable. Can't even raise the thought of struggling. Dongfang Xing flew up to Megatron and said, do you think there can only be one ruler in this universe, and you are the only one? Cybertron's vision is too small, so small that he didn't realize how colorful the Milky Way is. Thanos, Carry Empire, Nova Empire, Supreme Mage, Asgard. Any existence can erase the Cybertron star. Even as long as our star clan is an adult, we can crush to death with bare hands. Frog at the bottom of the well, the sky you can see Sarada is too small, and your ambition is too small. While speaking, the hand behind Dongfang Xing controlled a phoenix force, which penetrated into Megatron's soul. Jean had obviously never seen the existences that Dongfang Xing mentioned. But it is inexplicable to believe. Also makes every sentence of Dongfang Xing, like a heavy hammer, it smashed his previous ambitions, and then crushed them into powder little by little. But he thought it was over? This is just a strong player in one universe. What about other multi-universes? What about the planet devourers who feed on the planet and devour the stars? What about Dormammu, who regards the universe as a territory and corrupts it with darkness? What about the top observer and life court? One word, one sentence. While asking Megatron to doubt life, he also came to an epiphany: the world is so big. By contrast, Cybertron, the Milky Way, and even the universe are just limited small places. It must be very interesting to be able to achieve those positions that Dongfang Xing said existed. Can't help but, Megatron fantasized about that day, with infinite anticipation in his heart. He didn't notice at all. My previous ambitions are being disintegrated little by little. Dongfang Xing also experienced the horror of Phoenix Force. Even the will of the shape-shifting King Kong can be modified, isn't it easier for humans? Episode 58. Optimus Prime returns to the Decepticons to build Cybertron's former glory. Seeing the effect achieved, Dongfang Xing put away Phoenix Force. Megatron's dream of supremacy then revived. Looking at the incomparable Dongfang Xing, Megatron couldn't accept the contrast for a while. At this time, Dongfang Xing took out half of Fire Seed Source and threw it to Megatron casually. Megatron caught the item he was thinking of, but he wasn't very happy. Even if Cybertron is really revived, with their technological level, when can they catch up with those existences? A wisp of orange-red is fleeting in the electronic eyes. Inexplicable, a thought flashed through his mind. He held up Fire Seed Source and half knelt down facing Dongfang Xing. Megatron leads the Decepticons and is loyal to you. If there is any betrayal, the subordinates will personally kill the traitor. Dongfang Xing smiled. Although Phoenix Force has the ability to modify the will, Dongfang Xing, who is not yet proficient, cannot do it once and for all. If he is far away, the Phoenix Force will be ineffective. The controlled Megatron will surely retaliate against himself even more. But if in Megatron's heart, plant a seed and water it with words. Let Megatron make his own decision to surrender, this is the most stable way. Megatron's dream of supremacy is perfectly fine in the shapeshifting Kong universe. But when it comes to the level of Marvel and DC, it seems ridiculous. Use this to crush his self-confidence, and then plant the seeds with Phoenix Force. Two-pronged approach, successfully won. But seeing that the system has not moved, Dongfang Xing looked at Optimus Prime. Is this asking him to catch them all? But compared to Megatron's difficulty, Optimus Prime is easy to fool. Get up. Dongfang Xing said, wait, no matter what happens, don't do anything. Yes. My king. Megatron said respectfully. Dongfang Xing, this is the realm of releasing the time stop. 3 suspended energy rays continued to shoot over. Dongfang Xing raised his hand to grasp, and by constantly changing the direction of the vector, let it circle into a ball in the palm of his hand. Then grab it. An attack that was powerful enough to split mountains and crack rocks was wiped out just like that. This strength let Megatron strengthen his belief, it is absolutely right to follow Dongfang Xing. Jazz 3 cars are stunned. Blocking an attack and playing around like this is not of the same order. Especially, why is Megatron half kneeling in front of Dongfang Xing? Optimus Prime, if I remember correctly, the Autobots were separated from the Decepticons, right? Dongfang Xing said slowly, so only the Decepticons were catalyzed by the fire seed source, right? Optimus Prime nodded silently. Wise as he is, he had already vaguely guessed what Dongfang Xing was going to do. As you can see, Megatron has already pledged his allegiance to me. Dongfang Xing looked at Megatron. From now on, the Decepticons are not allowed to kill indiscriminately. Our brutality is only for foreign enemies, not for our own people. Megatron hesitated. But when he met Dongfang Xing's fierce gaze, he couldn't help but tremble. This is not a discussion, but an order. Yes. I will restrain my subordinates. Megatron bowed his head. This answer, it also shocked the 4 cars of Optimus Prime. This is Megatron? The Megatron who ruled Cybertron? What a joke. This time Dongfang Xing did not use Phoenix Force, but calmly looked at Optimus Prime. Now you have 2 choices, lead the Autobots back to the Decepticons, or become my enemy. There is no mention of killing you in every sentence, every word is Xuancheng's rebellion. The scariest thing is, facing Dongfang Xing, Optimus Prime couldn't help but have no resistance at all, laughed to death. It is impossible to beat it. So, I have only one question. Optimus Prime said solemnly, what if Megatron can't restrain his subordinates and starts wanton killing again? It's very simple. Dongfang Xing said with a smile, you organize a law enforcement team. If anyone violates the order, you can kill them first and act later. Hold C. Megatron suddenly looked up. Can there be a little bit of sand in Optimus Prime's eyes? Then he won't stand on his own. This is not to give a little hope, either change or die. If so, I'd love to give it a try. Optimus Prime knelt down on one knee and also offered his half of fire seed source. With the highest respect to my king, Optimus Prime leads the Autobots to return to the former glory of the Decepticons and build Cybertron together. Optimus Prime is kneeling, what else can the Jazz do? They also knelt down one after another. Return to the Decepticons and build Cybertron's past glory together. ×3. The 2 leaders of shapeshifting King Kong have become their own family members. Now the system finally moved. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the fire seed source, allowing the family to have the ability to create a shapeshifting King Kong army. Winky face. Congratulations to the hosts Megatron and Optimus Prime for their loyalty and accepting the first civilization attachment for the family. Winky face. Family strength is growing. Comprehensive reward settlement is in progress. Congratulations to the host for receiving the reward. Dongfang Xing's eyes gradually widened. It turned out to be this reward? Episode 59. The Well of the Source of Fire. Take over Cybertron? It turned out to be this reward. Looking at the 2 halves of fire seed source in his hand, he silently put them together. The 2 halves of fire seed source are automatically merged. Dijia, the Decepticons born from the source of fire, can you modify the aggressive and tyrannical character? Scanning, analyzing, calculating the plan. Calculation complete. Currently the best solution, you can use the ability plugin, Phoenix Force, to modify the emotional parameters and freely set the birth shapeshifting King Kong character. Oh. Phoenix Force, as expected of an S-level ability, it is strong. Dongfang Xing closed his eyes. Phoenix Force emerged and poured into Fire Seed Source. Perception. Most objects do not have emotions. This makes a blood-red light spot particularly conspicuous, and Phoenix Force will perceive violent will when touched. Dongfang Xing directly erased violence and changed his will to loyalty. As for personality, Tiga, implant an algorithm to add a random character on the basis of absolute loyalty to me. Otherwise, it's all a template character, and it's too boring. Remember to remove negative personalities such as berserk and killing. Writing in progress. Implanting. Implantation complete. Done this. Phoenix Force, like the tide receding, it surged back into Dongfang Xing's body again. Open your eyes. Dongfang Xing opened the king's treasure and took out 3 psychokinesis floating cannons. Put Fire Seed Source on one of them. The electric current visible to the naked eye splashes, flows on the psychokinesis floating cannon, and then returns to the Fire Seed Source. Cuckoo ka ka cuckoo ka. Psychokinesis floating cannon, cool shapeshifting, transformed into a shapeshifting King Kong more than 3 meters high, respectfully half-kneeled in front of Dongfang Xing, and presented the Fire Seed Source. Crazy faction shapeshifting King Kong, dedicating loyalty to my king. Well, I converted the other 2 too. Dongfang Xing said casually. Yes. Thank you, my king, for your gift. Take advantage of this gap. Dongfang Xing looked at Megatron and Optimus Prime. From now on, the Decepticon Megatron will lead the battle team. The Autobots go on to Optimus Prime for the law enforcement team. You are collectively called Shapeshifting King Kong, and they are the first affiliated civilization under my command. Both Megatron and Optimus Prime nodded respectfully. Yes. My king. ×2. At this time, the other 2 psychokinesis floating cannons were also transformed, and the first transformed shapeshifting King Kong was presented with Fire Seed Source again. Dongfang Xing took it and said casually, "The 3 of you will be called Xiaofu, Xiaoyu, and Xiaopao according to the order of birth. If you don't like it, you can name yourself another name." Yes. My king. ×3. Dongfang Xing tossed Fire Seed Source, bowed his head and thought for a while. The reward given just now, I don't know if Fire Seed Source can be transformed. Awesome if you can. But the size of that reward is not smaller than the space carrier. Hercules is just a little brother in front of him. I am afraid. Megatron. Dongfang Xing asked, is there a limit to the transformation of the fire source? Is the file size of the spaceship acceptable? There is a limit. Megatron nodded and said, the fire source can only give life to small shapeshifting King Kong. Medium shapeshifting King Kong can be made through fusion. As for large, only in the well of Fire Seed Source born. The well of Fire Seed? This is the first time Dongfang Xing has heard of it. Optimus Prime's eyesight is still higher than that of Megatron. Spontaneously explained, the fire source was originally just pure energy, and it existed in the well of the fire source. Later, Master Titanium made this container and collected a part of the fire source to take away. We are competing for the source of fire, but also to reignite the well of the source of fire, so that the shapeshifting King Kong can be born on a large scale. Dongfang Xing nodded suddenly, so there is such a thing. It seems that the reward cannot be activated for the time being. Phoenix Force emerged, divided Fire Seed Source into 2 again and threw it to Megatron and Optimus Prime. Now that I have the source of fire, I can go to Krypton to ask for a spaceship, and go back to Cybertron to activate the well of the source of fire. When? All of Cybertron will be at his disposal. The family has a foothold in the universe, so what should he be rewarded for? But alas. The only coordinate is on the arc I'm on, but Optimus Prime said bitterly, during the battle with Megatron, we were forced to enter the escape pod and wander in the universe. He looked to Megatron. Where did the arc crash? I don't know either. Megatron shook his head, I was also shot down back then, so I had to ask you Tiandi where he was going. You couldn't get in touch? Optimus Prime shook his head helplessly. But Dongfang Xing was thoughtful. The arc where the natural enemies ride. The one on the moon in Shapeshifting King Kong 3? Tat-a-tat-it. The sound of hurried footsteps came, and I saw. Episode 60. Spaceship to the moon. Megatron defected? Tat-a-tat-it. Fury, with a dark face, walked quickly under the leadership of Seymour. Director. He wants to take away NBE-1. Seymour said excitedly, that is the precious wealth of all of us. Can't. Shut up. Megatron said violently, "My name is Megatron. Not NBE1. Seymour was still waiting to refute, and was pulled down by Fury's shoulders. Megatron, step back. Dongfang Xing yelled. Megatron stepped back unwillingly. Dongfang Xing took a step forward and said casually, "SHIELD still owes me one condition, that's all." Fury nodded curtly. "No problem, Megatron, you can take it away." Seymour was in a hurry on the spot. Pulled down by Phil Coulson, who had been prepared for a long time, winked at the left and right, and dragged down directly. Fury asked the most concerned question, "Are you going to form your own military force on Earth?" Dongfang Xing accepts 2 generals. He panicked. There must be some manpower. Dongfang Xing spread his hands and said, "If the Earth doesn't welcome me, I can go to Krypton." One move was to retreat and advance, and Fury was completely silent. What to do? Really drive people away? He can't bear it. Dongfang Xing is such a communicative alien, as long as the price is in place, he will accept employment. After hearing this, the scrolls said that Fury is lucky. Immediately softened his tone, "If it is you, we can still trust it. It's just that you have to restrain your subordinates and don't cause unnecessary misunderstandings." Dongfang Xing looked at Megatron. "Have you heard that? Restrain your subordinates more, or I will drive you out of the Earth." Megatron. This threat. So scared. Yes. My king. Even if this matter is over. Fury took the opportunity to propose, SHIELD is willing to provide a resident for shapeshifting King Kong, and send experts to assist in construction and improvement. How about it? This is not assistance, it is obviously here to steal the teacher. Dongfang Xing didn't care. Using a little superficial technology, whoring SHIELD's resources for nothing. This business is very profitable. Just turn my manor into a new base. Dongfang Xing said. The violin has already been soaked, so there is no need to go to Xavier's side. No problem. Fury finally smiled, resources and manpower will be deployed immediately. Dongfang Xing looked at Megatron. Go and connect. You need as many resources as you can. SHIELD is not short of money. Yes. My king. Fury's smile froze. I'm still here, so I'm not shy at all? Phil Coulson, you're in charge of this, Fury said. Yes. Megatron directly opened his hand and grabbed Hill in his hand. Little baby, hurry up. Cuckoo ka ka cuckoo ka, shapeshifting sound, Megatron transformed into a fighter jet and soared through the air shaft. Optimus Prime watched with some concern. Megatron won't. Ran away? Dongfang Xing is not worried at all. Megatron has been thoroughly PUA, and now he is more loyal than Optimus Prime. He looked at Fury, smiled and said, Did you find something on the moon? Fury. He regrets it very much now, he shouldn't have let Dongfang Xing into the archives in the first place. Yes, a similar style flight was found. Optimus Prime is excited. Could it be Ark? Then you arrange for my subordinates to go to the moon. Dongfang Xing said directly, in exchange, I can make one shot for free. Good. One shot by Dongfang Xing is much more valuable than any resource exchange. Then let's connect. Dongfang Xing put Xiaofu and the others away, and his figure disappeared in a flash. Move fast, Fury could only put down his retaining hand, and looked up at Optimus Prime. Try to dig some more value. Your size is too big to launch a rocket for you alone, the cost. Is there a price increase? Optimus Prime nodded, then I will ask my king for instructions. Don't. Fury yelled to stop, don't bother with him for this matter. Optimus Prime smiled without saying a word. Still want to sit on the ground and raise the price? Back at Shuguang Building, Qin was still fast asleep. Although Dongfang Xing was still very energetic, he didn't go to Louise and the others. Today is also his and Qin's wedding night, so what's the point of going to another wife? Holding the piano, controlling a group of Phoenix Force, with one hand, he is familiar with its ability. As a system reward, Dongfang Xing can perfectly control Phoenix Force, just like an unlocked mobile phone. But it is a whiteboard phone. There is no software or function, which needs to be developed and applied by himself. It takes time to get used to it. Suddenly, Qin in her arms opened her eyes, with shock in her eyes. You also have Phoenix Force? She said in disbelief, you obviously didn't have it before, you. It's Dark Phoenix. Dongfang Xing had already thought of a reason. The one that was killed last time left some fragments, which were thrown into the warehouse by the elders of the Star Clan, and replaced with some resources. Dark Phoenix. Why is this Phoenix Force worthless as you said? Originally, he had some doubts about Dongfang Xing's statement. I believe it now. You just woke up. Dongfang Xing said with a smile, I heard that the ability of the same source, after in-depth communication, may have unexpected gains. Dark Phoenix? You. Don't come here.